Welcome to the Mendoza Podcast, financial talk that makes sense. I'm your Illinois State Controller, Susana Mendoza, and I want to help answer all the questions you have about money matters, but we're maybe afraid to ask. We're going to learn a lot and have some fun together. So today is exciting because we are on location at PAWS Chicago at their Lincoln Park Adoption Center. My office has long partnered with PAWS as part of our Controllers Critters program. Now, Controllers Critters was created by my dear friend, the late and great Judy Bartopinka. It includes an online database on our website listing the contact information for shelters around the state, as well as resources for pet owners, such as tips for bringing your new pet home. And because you can never have too many of us with this awesome name, joining us today is PAWS Chicago CEO, Susana Wickham. Thanks so much for being here, Susana. You've got the two Chicago Susanas right here in one room.
Right. If someone's talking about a Susana in Chicago, it's likely they mean one of us.
Are your ears buzzing right now? Yeah. Pretty cool. But Susana, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for opening up your home to us, and hopefully we'll get to open up homes to many of your beloved pets here, our little furry friends. But why don't you first start off by telling us a little bit about PAWS Chicago for those folks who still don't know?
Sure. Well, PAWS was founded 28 years ago by a mother and daughter who wanted to bring to light the number of homeless pets that were being killed in the city of Chicago. Back in '97, there were more than 42,000 innocent, beautiful cats and dogs killed in the city of Chicago, which was a shameful and dark secret nobody knew. And in those days, people were mostly buying animals. They weren't going to animal care and control very frequently. There wasn't really the large shelter ecosystem that exists today. And so they decided to bring a bunch of animals out of animal care and control and put them on Michigan Avenue, partner with a bunch of retailers so that people could see the types of animals that were available. And that was just an explosive event. It was in the paper, it was on the news, and people started calling and saying, well, I want to help animals. So that was the birth and the origin story of this wonderful organization.
That's Paula?
That's Paula and her daughter Alexis. Yes. That's right. Her daughter was in high school and said, Mom, we've got to do something to help all these animals.
Oh,
and so and really it started grassroots, and now it's turned into a large organization, really the largest no-kill in the Midwest, one of the largest in the country, with a comprehensive suite of programs that help animals. So what's important for people to know is that there are lots of places where you can adopt shelter pets, and PAWS is definitely one of them, one of the largest in the country. But really, only 20% of the animals that come through our doors are adoptable pets. There's a whole other 80% that come through our medical center in Little Village, and those are homeless and at-risk pets in the community. They could be outdoor cats that come to us for spay-neuter to control the outdoor cat population, and then many of them are owned pets where their owners are in under-resourced communities. They may not be able to afford vet services or access vet services. Things like spay and neuter can cost over $1,000.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we do free and low cost spay neuter at a very large scale that impacts the landscape of the city of Chicago.
That's so awesome. I was about to ask you actually, where do most of your pets come from, right? Most of your little friends. Are they surrendered? Are they homeless? But you really did a wonderful job of, walking us through how you get a lot of your animals. And
well, and our adoptable pets, they are, I would say 75 to 80% of them come from the city of Chicago, and the majority are from Chicago Animal Care and Control. We are the #1 transfer partner. Chicago Animal Care and Control, most people might not know the name, it's the city pound. It's the clearinghouse for where all stray pets, and when people are giving up their pets, that's where they all end up. So we transfer, we're the largest transfer partner of animals out, but then we also go to other municipal shelters in the area, and then we also take in pets directly from owners, from the public. And then we do a small portion from out of state, and those animals, people may hear about us participating in helping from a disaster, helping when there's a hurricane and we're bringing animals to PAWS, and we develop long-term relationships with those shelters that are in high kill states where the animals would otherwise be killed, and we bring them here to PAWS.
No, that's so cool. I mean, look, people ask me all the time, why did this controller have the Controllers Critters program, right? Like, what does that have to do with finances? And I tell people, well, first of all, I get to always talk about Judy Bartopinka, which is fascinating.
I loved her too.
Everyone loved Judy.
She was the best.
The best. And I'm a Democrat, she was a Republican, and we became very, very good friends because I used to be a state rep and she was a treasurer at the time. But anyone who ever met Judy loved Judy, right? The most bipartisan person. I've really tried to model my bipartisan career off of hers, frankly, right? But Judy had an absolute fascination and love, adoration for animals.
Wow.
And she started the Controller's Critters program when she became controller in the state of Illinois years later. I, at the time, was city clerk of Chicago, and we started partnering on animal adoption events and stuff with PAWS. And this is kind of how my relationship started with Paula back in the day, before you were the director. And when Judy passed away, it was like the worst. We're good friends, but the controller that took over after her got rid of the Controller Critters program. And then I was like, we got to bring it back, right? We're not going to be the Scrooge. We're bringing it back. And we brought it back not just to honor Judy and her love for animals, but to explain to people why this program was important, because it does have an intersect with finance, right? You just talked about 47,000 animals that would be euthanized.
42,000, yes.
42,000.
Right.
Okay, 42,000 animals euthanized a year. That costs money. The city has to absorb the cost of those euthanasias, right? They have to absorb the cost of housing and feeding the animals before, their dark day comes. And when we can figure out a way to make people happy, to bring joy to those pets and their owners, and save money in the process, it's a win-win for everyone. So we've been very proud to partner with folks like you and hundreds of other shelters across Illinois, and we've been able to adopt out thousands of animals since I restarted the program almost 10 years ago now. So awesome. Very, very exciting. But what the work that you do here is great. But you know what I hear all the time, Susana, is, well, I would never go to like a shelter because I want a puppy. Right? And that's why I bought a puppy from a pet store, which, by the way, please never buy a dog from a pet store. It's most of those dogs, like 95% of them are from puppy mills, where they treat the mothers just in horrific conditions, right? And a lot of times those dogs have problems, and you end up spending a couple $1,000 on a dog that looks super cute in the window. And then you find out once you take it home that it has a whole bunch of health issues, and it's going to cost you thousands and thousands
That
more.
happened to someone I know very well recently, where she adopted a puppy that started having seizures immediately, and not adopted, bought a puppy, and then all of a sudden, $5,000 later was like, I can't keep this dog because these vet bills are going to continue to escalate. So that happens quite a bit. I agree with you, and I think it just comes down to misconceptions about the types of dogs and cats that are available in shelters, or why would you go to a shelter when you see this cute little puppy in a shop that
and it tugs your heart.
It tugs, and
totally.
so people have to understand that you really don't want to support an industry where the commerce is the lives of animals. You want to help the animals that are already in need in our community. And there are plenty of puppies in need in our community. And there are plenty of animals of every shape, size, age, breed, appearance,
there's even
personality.
Right?
All the
People say,
time.
well, I either want a puppy or I want a specific breed. I'm never going to find that in a shelter. Eek. Not true, right?
Well, yeah, because the reason why is because a lot of people will go and buy a pet and then 6 months later say, I actually can't handle, or 2 months later, or 3 years later, I can't handle this animal. I don't want it anymore. And so those animals do end up in shelters, and we see every type of animal. And we work to make sure that they're rehabilitated, that they're healthy before you adopt them. And really, it's an incredible value to go to a shelter because we do everything to vet the animal. We do the spay and neuter surgery.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, because from a financial perspective, we talked about the finances for municipalities, right? But from a personal financial perspective, isn't it a fact that it's so much cheaper to actually go through a shelter where you provide these services, these medical services that could cost over $1,000, whereas you're on the hook if you want to do that. Number one, you're paying more for the dog at a store.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have to likely spay or neuter it. You don't have to, but most people choose to, and that's going to run over $1,000.
Yep.
And all the other things that you don't know that you're even ready to take on that responsibility, versus, to your point, you guys vet folks to make sure they're ready for the responsibility before they take those animals, correct?
It's absolutely right. When you adopt a pet from PAWS, we're bringing some puppies in right now. But when you adopt
Speaking of puppies,
a pet from PAWS, you do.
Who's this?
One of them is Daisy and one of them is Sunflower. They're sisters.
I'm seeing who comes to me.
There we go.
Daisy, hey little cutie woody.
Thank you so much. I'll take this one.
I'll take this one.
Let's put him on our laps. Oh, come back.
Hey, come here.
Come back, little stinker. Come here. Oh,
we can
come
get
here.
no work done when there's puppies because they're too cute. Of
They're
course.
so
Hey,
cute.
baby, come
They're
here, come here.
so cute.
Come here. I'm going to prove it to you that we have puppies. Look at
Right.
these guys. Yes.
And their mom.
This is Daisy.
So their story was they were born at a local municipal shelter. It was a mom and her 8 puppies. And so we took all of them into PAWS and they went into foster because of course they're still nursing and they're growing and they're getting lots of help from their mom. And now they're ready to be adopted. And so they've received their vaccinations and
She's saying, adopt me, adopt me.
yes. Oh,
I
she's a
love you so
smoocher.
much. Yes, oh my goodness. You're so cute.
Yeah. And the other thing is when you adopt from PAWS, we'll give you a certificate for your free first vet visit. So you can continue their vaccination schedule, whatever needs to be done. You establish a relationship with that vet. We give you a bag of food. They're microchipped. They really,
Look at her. She's like, oh, you got
puppy
kisses
kisses
too.
are the
Thank
best.
you.
They are the
puppy
best.
breath, I think, is the best. They should,
I
like
know.
a sticker, scratch and sniff. Puppy breath
I
sticker.
would love that. You should invent that. Yeah, they're just the best.
Love how she's sitting down. Let's get you to sit down like that too. Not you. You look at each other.
Oh, you want to go down?
Are you saying, please adopt me or let me go?
These are just
You wanna
little
go too?
little puppy noises.
Yes, but the point is, come if you're in the market, right? If you're in the market and you've really thought about it, because I do tell people, obviously, like for example, you see this puppy here, right? What? Here, you good? This puppy is rambunctious, as every puppy is.
They want to play.
So it always blows my mind when people say, let's let them walk around. Who cares if they pee or whatever? So when people say, I didn't realize the puppy was going to be so energetic, it's like, okay, puppies are all energetic. Maybe you saw it when it was sleeping, right? But when they wake up,
they do
like
sleep a
little
lot.
kids.
But I will
Yes.
say too, that's the beauty. We have pets of all ages and we give a lifetime guarantee for PAWS animals. So let's just say someone adopts from us and 10 years later, they, for whatever reason, don't want that animal anymore, or the lifetime of the pet, we always take that cat or dog back.
See,
and
that's
then
amazing.
we will rehabilitate, do whatever medical is needed, and then find that animal another home. So that's why it's nice, I think, to adopt in a circumstance like this, versus, again, if you're going, they're playing. If you're going to a breeder, or to a puppy mill operation,
Which
that
is so
yes,
horrible.
they're not necessarily
Yes,
going to
it's the
take
worst.
that pet back ever. So
These are like the animals, just to be clear so people know, when you go to a flea market and you see like puppies, $100 or $50.
Well, those could be backyard breeders too.
Yes.
And that's something that we see a lot of now, and that's why there's such a proliferation of stray and relinquished pets right now, is because during COVID, backyard breeding went into overproduction.
Overdrive,
because there was so much demand for dogs, and it became very lucrative for people to breed, and people were home. But so many animals were produced, and then the adoption demand dried up, and that's where you see this proliferation of animals right now, and why it's continuing to affect the shelter community and the economy. And that's why, as you're hearing about more and more animals being relinquished, it's a byproduct too of what's happening in the economy, and just how expensive it has become to get vet care for a pet and to keep a pet. And so we're seeing a lot of post-pandemic.
It's so cute.
I know.
It's hard to concentrate.
It is
isn't
hard to
'Cause you're
concentrate.
like,
They're
just
so fun.
adorable. I just want to play with the puppies.
But we continue to see a lot of post-pandemic effects. One thing I did want to say too, though, and I think this is an important point because you brought up the municipal impact of having a shelter community that cares for pets.
Yeah.
The city of Chicago's budget for animals is about $7 million. And when we look at peer cities that are similarly sized and have similar animal populations, our budget the city's budget should be more like $20 or $30 million if you compare it to other cities in America. And so one of the reasons that PAWS has been so important to the animal welfare ecosystem in Chicago is because most cities in America don't have a spay-neuter program like Chicago does at PAWS. So in the history of PAWS, we've been around 28 years. We've done over 330,000 free and low-cost spay and neuter surgeries.
That's amazing.
So that has prevented the killing of unwanted pets in the hundreds of thousands to millions. And so that has been huge at bringing down the population of animals entering shelters. Most cities don't have that. And that is a really big reason.
So are they spending most of their money then on euthanizing these animals?
It's a lot of staffing.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would say,
They're just doing more of having to pick up stray animals because the population is larger in these cities because they don't have facilities like yours doing the spay and neutering on the front end.
Exactly. And what's happening at Chicago Animal Care Control, at any given time, they have more than 400 animals in their care. And so they are doing the best that they can to get as many animals out to shelters, animals adopted by the public. But they do, unfortunately, have to euthanize animals for space. That's a horrible reality.
Sure.
But really, just caring for hundreds of pets at a time is labor intensive and it's expensive.
Of course.
So that's why if you can bring that population down and work to get animals out, it's huge. Another thing that's important to share is a couple of years ago, PAWS developed a program called 360 at CACC, and it was a response to the surge in animals coming in post-pandemic. There's suddenly more and more strays, more and more owner relinquishments, a bunch of reasons. It was the surge in backyard breeding. It was how expensive it became to have pets. So we developed this program, and we've made a big impact at Chicago Animal Care and Control. We provide free spay-neuter surgeries for many of their pets at PAWS so that the public can adopt their pets, or other rescues that don't have a hospital like we do. You know, we have a medical center with vets on staff and vet techs, so we're able to provide that vetting service.
Ready to go.
And and then we bring them back to Animal Care Control where other rescues or the public can take them out.
Oh, that's great.
So that's been huge. So
it's a really wonderful partnership.
Huge partnership. And then we also added a PAWS staffer full-time who helps them with adoptions and volunteers.
Oh,
so their adoptions went up last year by 30%. Immediately after we added our PAWS staffer, to the floor to support, because they don't have the budget to have someone who's helping with adoptions.
Right, they're focusing on the day-to-day nuts and bolts versus what's the next step, right?
That's
the next step is ultimately to get these little beautiful faces in homes that love them.
Exactly right. So it's complicated. It's been a complicated problem to go after, to bring down the number of animals killed in Chicago, but PAWS has been really successful at that.
Well, thank you. And we've loved being partners with you with Controllers Critters, and with every shelter that is one of our partners, because every Tuesday we actually highlight an animal of the week.
Yeah.
And with the appropriate shelter, PAWS has been in the past some of those that we go ahead and promote, but we do them from all across the state of Illinois.
Wonderful.
And we even, during the state fair in Springfield, we hold a day for pet adoption, and we bring the dogs out there. I think it's Wild Canine Rescue that we partner with there, and we've adopted multiple pets out every time. It's like the hardest thing is for me not to go back home with a puppy, right? But, again, on that point, I think that I know I can't have a dog right now as much as I would love to, and I'm a dog person for sure, and my little boy is every day begging me for a dog. With my line of work and the way I travel and our family picks up and goes, I feel like I'm at a point now in my life, even though I've had dogs all my life for the most part, except for our little dog who died 2 years ago in November, is we're not getting another pet right now because we wouldn't be the best, most responsible owners for that pet. And but it's hard to get there, right? It's also heartbreaking when you see that during the pandemic, so many people got puppies and then immediately had to relinquish them once reality came back and hits you in the face. And so they're not toys, right? They're not a stuffed animal. They're like a real
They're
animal
living
with real
being.
feelings.
Absolutely.
The most loyal little creatures on earth.
Best family members.
The most unconditional love, right?
The best.
Yes, the best. And so you really have to think about it. It's a commitment that goes possibly 18 years of your life with that animal.
That's right.
Before you just decide to hey, I really want to impress my girlfriend, I'm going to buy her a puppy, right? Listen, you're probably going to break up, and then your girlfriend's maybe going to keep the puppy, but not you. But maybe she decides not to keep the puppy either. And that is not what we want. We don't want people to impulse purchase a dog for Valentine's or Christmas or Mother's Day, right? We want people to really think it through, and that's why your organization, I think, is so helpful and asking the right questions of people before they...
Well, and part of our process is we share with them, this is what it will cost you to have this pet. You might have a medical emergency in a few years, and so you have to save up for that and be prepared for that.
Exactly.
So those are the sorts of conversations that we have with adopters to make sure that they go into it eyes open. But I will say that when you connect with an animal that is living in your home and that becomes your best friend and is so entertaining and cute.
Look at them.
I know. They're just tussling.
Because they are siblings.
They are. This is puppy playtime. Yes. But when you connect with that animal and you have that experience of loving them and them loving you back, there's really nothing you wouldn't do for that animal. the bond is so incredible that it is the best experience you can have.
It's super awesome, no doubt. I mean, like, they're part of the family. It's really that simple. And we partnered with PAWS before with a special program. We partnered with you guys and also with Fifth Third Bank, where we would, no, it's hard to like, woof. Yeah, that's right. You tell her, Daisy. All right, way to go back. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I love it. All right, so anyway, going back to the real world.
Partnered, right?
We did an event for veterans. And it was really one of the most inspirational things I've done in my role as controller, because I truly felt like we saved someone's life, right? Yeah. You guys helped us, right? We all together collaborated. And you know who really did? That dog.
Yeah.
So we held an event. It was like a week. And we said, you know, veterans come into the PAWS here. And if you pick out an animal, you can get it for free, right? There's no fees associated at all. And then we picked one veteran out of that group whose animal we would pay to train. And it was all donations. So Fifth Third Bank sponsored, it's thousands of dollars to turn an animal into a service dog. But we picked a veteran who really had not left his home, Susana. He had such high degree of PTSD, but somehow his family convinced him, go to PAWS. And we had this huge promotion about it's for veterans. We're gonna sponsor a service animal, come, tell us your story. And he came out of his house and he came to PAWS and he picked a dog. And then Fifth Third Bank was generous enough to sponsor the dog becoming a service dog. And then we did interviews on the radio with this veteran who now went with us to a radio station.
Wow.
A year later, to talk about his story about how that dog, he didn't save that dog's life. That dog saved his life. Mm-hmm. How he now has more of a quality of life because he can leave his home with his animal. He had never left his house. He was too scared. He was too just the PTSD was too intense. Wow. But that this dog literally is his reason for living, and it's his reason for not wanting to be in those doors, because he can't walk his dog if he doesn't leave his house.
Right.
So his mission is now to make that dog happy by taking him out for walks, by getting out of his house, and at the same time, he's become so much happier. So without that dog, it wouldn't happen,
it's that caring for a pet it's such a two-way process, and it feels so good to give care to this animal and to feed them and to love them and to see them happy and fulfilled.
For sure.
It's so gratifying.
It's the best. And to see people who you really do feel like, this person might not be with us right now. He was in that deep of a dark funk, And
there's so much research that shows that people live longer, healthier lives when they have pets. And I know for myself, my pets have gotten me through anything. It's hard not to feel good when you see an animal.
For sure, especially these little cuties, which I know someone's going to want to adopt. And, so I've told you, I don't think I'm going to have a dog for quite some time yet, as much as I'd love to adopt all of these, and much to the chagrin of my son. But I've also told you, when you go on vacation, we will be your temporary foster home, right?
I love it.
So that's my compromise with my son. We'll watch other people's pets.
Yeah.
If we're here and they're not, we'll take them and you can walk them and you can be responsible for them, and they're going to be your dog for the week, but you got to give them back, right?
Right.
So in that vein, what can other people do? I want him to volunteer at PAWS. This is a way that he can still be involved with having pets and also learning the responsibility associated with those pets, right?
Absolutely.
Especially as he gets older, so that when he's ready, he knows what that's going to entail. But how can people get involved with PAWS, right? If they're not ready to necessarily adopt, but how can they get involved with their local shelter? Not necessarily just PAWS. This might not be their local shelter, but yours and other shelters that are on the same mission that you guys are, of saving lives and making people happy and making the world a better place.
Well, all shelters, including PAWS, need volunteers, and we had over 125,000 volunteer hours last year, which is the equivalent of more than 60 full-time employees.
So how many? 110,000?
125,000 volunteer hours, which is incredible.
That's
Between
great.
here,
volunteers.
Yes, volunteers are amazing. They work right alongside our staff, and they do a lot to help us because, as I mentioned, having animals is very labor intensive. You want to give the dogs 3 nice walks a day. You want to give the cats socialization. You have to do a lot to maintain the space. And our volunteers are really giving, loving people. And some of them will say, like, even washing the dog bowls or doing the laundry is gratifying because they're caring for animals. And certainly walking and socializing pets is very gratifying.
Sure.
And so we're always looking for volunteers, not just at our adoption center, but also at our hospital, which is our medical center. In addition, foster. If people want to open up their homes to pets, we need thousands of fosters a year because it allows us to amplify the amount of space that we have. And many pets do better in foster. Let's say they come to us for surgery of some type. They may recover better in a foster home than they would recover in our hospital just because it's calmer for them and it allows them to heal better. So there's such an opportunity to foster animals ranging from, mamas and their babies, kittens and puppies, which is very sweet. And it could be short-term foster and it could be longer-term foster. Whatever people are up for, we usually take them through the training and then we take them through, they start with a fairly easy pet and then we can do more advanced things as they become more acclimated. And then of course donate.
For sure.
You can absolutely, and we are 100% funded by donations. We don't receive any government funding. Most people don't realize that. We actually, the work that we do is a reason that the city of Chicago doesn't have to kill so many animals.
Amen.
Which is great. And so we love to be funded by our community and supported by the people who love animals.
There are so many people that love animals. Let me tell you, I used to be, you remember, a state rep for 11 years before I was city clerk and then now controller. But when I was a state rep, I passed legislation that, and I'd been there for, I want to say 8 or 9 years already out of the 11 that I served. And I remember passing a bill for Sheriff Tom Dart. And it was a bill that would require, if you showed up to the scene to investigate a child abuse a complaint, right? So you walk up onto the scene, a child welfare complaint, you had to look for evidence of animal.
Wow.
Because
they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand,
they do,
right?
Unfortunately.
In the same vein, so you become a mandated reporter on that, right? The inverse is true as well. If you get called for an animal care complaint and you see evidence of child abuse, you have to report it. You don't get to turn a blind eye to it.
Wow.
So I passed this legislation. And so, you approach it from we want to make sure that if animal care and control is out there, or anybody, right, who's investigating a issue with an animal, and they see a child that looks roughed up or whatever, they have to make sure that we're reporting that. And you would think that that would have been the angle, right, about the kids. But you're not going to be amazed at how many emails I got back then from people saying, thank you for protecting the animals, right?
Yeah.
They obviously cared about the kids, but they really hit a nerve, with people that no one's watching out for our pets either. And it's, that abuse goes hand in hand without a doubt. I was really happy that the sheriff asked me to carry that legislation, but it's really when I had this epiphany of wow, it's wonderful to see that people take this issue of animal care so to heart, right? Because
I think the reason is
they're so vulnerable.
They don't have voices.
That's right.
And they are so trusting. We see animals that have been through horrific situations and they come to our medical center and they immediately lean into our staff and they're ready to trust and love again.
Aww.
It's unbelievable. So the fact that animals are abused at all is
You're like the
shocking
worst
and
kind of
hard.
person
Yes, it's
alive
awful.
to do that. Exactly.
Unfortunately, and I think that's why people are so motivated to help animals because they are entirely dependent on us.
They're so stinking
Yes,
cute, though. That's
they're
the
so
other reason.
cute.
They are absolutely dependent on us, but they're also so cute.
They are so cute.
Yes, they're so cute. But listen, I think that this has been a lot of fun, and I was hoping that maybe before we're done, we already saw Daisy, we saw Sunflower. How's your mom doing?
I think great.
Did she get adopted?
Not yet.
Because the puppies haven't been, they're released now. They're ready for adopting, right?
Yeah.
But
yes.
Mom hasn't been adopted yet?
I don't think so.
Okay,
yeah.
Frank. Hello, people. What are we waiting for? She's amazing.
Yep.
But hopefully, have any of the puppies been adopted yet? Or
I think these are the first to hit the adoption floor.
Right,
so there's 6 more coming.
Hot off the press, yes. But do you have other dogs we can see?
Yeah,
I'm sure people are going
tons.
to want to see more. So
Dogs and cats.
Let's roll.
Lots of them.
Let's go on a tour and check some out.
Sounds good.
All right, love it. Thank you. Hey, little guy. Look at that one over there. It's like, what's up? Hello.
So here's a great thing about kittens. People love kittens, and these kittens will probably be adopted today.
Aww.
So there are about a dozen in here, and here you can see a volunteer socializing kittens, and what that means is they're learning that humans are wonderful. And this is a very critical developmental stage for the kittens. And so our volunteers will just sit in a chair, and then the kittens come up to them and walk all over them, play with them, they interact with toys, and this is just a really wonderful way for kittens to be socialized so that when they end up in a home, they're wonderful with their humans.
Yeah, they know what's going on. They're looking forward to meeting their person, right?
Right, and at this age, they are extremely playful. So you'll see them with their little toys, and they are delightful to watch.
So one of the things that I love to explain to people when they ask, well, why should the controller care about animals? Why do you have a controller's critters program? It's because it does touch the finances, right? It is absolutely cheaper for municipalities to be able to handle the influx of animals that they have when they're not having to euthanize as many, right? So when we can partner with organizations like yours, and you're providing so many services, including, spaying, neutering, that's less money that municipalities have to deal with an influx of animals that they can't control. It's not enough.
Exactly
right. They don't
right.
have enough resources.
Exactly right. And I, 28 years ago when PAWS was founded, I was too young to really be tuned into what was happening. But what I've heard from people is that the streets were overrun with stray pets, that everywhere you went, if you were driving down the street, you would see stray cats, stray dogs, and these animals were suffering and then they were being killed. Yeah. So just the way that this has changed the way that our city operates, now that we're a much more humane place for animals, where we have a more appropriate number of animals to match the number of people who are willing to adopt, we're getting closer and closer to that equilibrium every year. So those are the things that are really important.
Good girl. She's so good. She takes it right out in the most gentle way. Paw. Sure. I mean, ideally, Chicago is such a animal-loving city, right? And I do think it's beautiful to see the ideal scenario is that nobody gives up their animals, but that's never going to happen, right? We're always going to have this. But what we never want to see are our shelters completely overloaded, where you see animals running straight in the street. You see this in other places. We don't want to see it here in Chicago. And so again, anytime we can save taxpayer money, but also then we save the money by getting these beautiful animals into someone's home, and you're saving the animal, you're saving the person's life as well, as we've seen and talked about, but you're also saving a lot of money for municipalities.
Win-win-win.
Win-win-win.
For the city, the people, and the animals.
And we love to win.
We do.
So yeah, let's keep winning. See you at PAWS!